Thank you very much for making a date on the marketplace. Now, the value of transactions carried out on mobile money platforms for the first quarter of this year reached 66 billion cedis. This was contained in the latest statistics covering electronic payments from January to March this year. There's more in this Business Desk report.
The statistics show that 66 billion cedis was realized for the first quarter, representing a 27% growth over what it secured by the same period for 2017. The total amount of money accounts held with commercial banks was also 2.7 billion cedis. This was also 27% more than what was officially reported in the first quarter of 2017. Registered mobile money accounts ending March stood at 29 million, however, only 12 million were active. The mobile money business for the first quarter of this year had about 355,000 registered agents. The report showed that all the areas of transaction saw more than 20% growth in numbers. The National Communication Authority puts the number of mobile money subscribers at 40 million, with 38 million being active. The value of transactions carried out on mobile money platforms for last year reached 233 billion Ghana cedis, while the total amount held at commercial banks ending 2018 was 2.6 billion cedis. There are currently 3 operators in the mobile money space, that is MTN, Vodafone and Airtel Tigo. The statistics showed that MTN commands more than 90% of this market in terms of funds held with commercial banks and transactions.
Now, cleaning up the entire financial sector could cost the country almost 20 billion cedis. This is after the central bank governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, disclosed that the non-banking sector cleanup would now cost 7 billion Ghana cedis. George Rafi has more in this report.
The 20 billion Ghana cedis cost could be described as a little bit higher than what was initially projected by government. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, in the 2019 budget presentation in November 2018, said that they have spent 9.9 billion Ghana cedis just to clean up the banking sector crisis. The amount increased to 12.7 billion Ghana cedis when the president presented the State of the Nation address to Parliament earlier this year. The savings in loans, microfinance, as well as rural banks were supposed to cost the country about 4 billion Ghana cedis. However, based on the governor's revelation, the cost for the non-banking sector cleanup should be about 7 billion Ghana cedis. Speaking at the MPC press conference, Governor Ernest Addison said securing all the funds for the exercise hasn't been that easy.
Most vulnerable sections in the other SDIs, by that I mean the savings and loans and finance houses, and see whether adding those to the microfinance intervention would make better sense. So this is really where we are. As you know, the total bill, if you put both of them together, is closer to 7 billion. So the budgetary resources are not there to undertake an operation of the magnitude of 7 billion. We have just 1 billion. We can take care of the microfinance institutions. And we need to make an assessment of whether all the noise that we are getting from, institutions like First Allied, that everybody knows is in the deep trouble, scattered all over the country. But it's not a microfinance. So the problem would not have been resolved by just concentrating on the microfinance part of it. So this is where we are.
We should also not forget about the possible cleanup in the securities and investment space. The cost could be more than 20 billion Ghana cedis by the close of this year if it should cover the entire financial space. Some have argued that if we are not getting any support from our donors, then taxpayers should brace themselves to take up the entire cost of this exercise.
Let's turn our attention away from the financial sector. Local automobile dealer Silver Star Auto Limited says it may strive to stay in Ghana's market should government's proposed automobile policy does not consider the interest of local dealers. According to Silver Star Auto Limited, the decision by some automobile firms to establish assembling plants in the country will come with some disruptions which may force them out of business. In an interview with Joy Business, Managing Director of Silver Star, Asad Nazir, disclosed that the dealers are ready to support government's initiative, but their future may be limited if it doesn't consider some of them.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry is leading stakeholders to come out with an auto policy, of which firms that express interest in establishing assembly plants in the country must comply with. So far, some of these firms, including the indigenous Kantanka Automobile, have begun negotiations with government for incentives to make them stay competitive in the market as part of a proposed auto policy. Managing Director of Silver Star Auto Limited, Asad Nazir, believes the local dealers must also be considered.
I mean, if the policy comes through and you're not ready, or your suppliers are not ready to set up assembly plants, then your future is very limited. And so either you play the ball or by the rules, or you're out. And this is what we're very concerned about. And it takes time to convince our suppliers overseas, to convince them that there's enough of a market size in Ghana, and then the right policy framework will support us, and we are ready to do the investment, and that the market size is small but will grow. So it's a lot of convincing.
He noted that the company has been engaged by the ministry throughout the process.
Oh, yes, we've been engaged, and the ministry has done very well. We congratulate them for all the effort they're making. Trade Ministry has done tremendously by engaging us as forum several times. They've listened to our concerns, and I believe that they're going to do their best for us.
The policy is part of an industrial revolution agenda by the government. Ebenezer Sabute's report for Joy Business.
Now, CEO of the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, Hayford Atakufi, is imploring public sector workers to ensure their mandatory Tier 1 and 2 pensions complement the Tier 3 pension scheme, which is voluntary. He said many public sector workers are not hooking up to Tier 3 because it is not mandatory and money not deducted from salaries as a matter of compulsion. As a result of this, a whooping 16.5% of workers' salary could have gone into pension tax-free is not being utilized. Hayford Atakrufi made the statement at an education forum organized by the Trades Union Congress in collaboration with the Social Security and National Insurance Trust on SNIT on issues of pension.
The Educational Forum is aimed at promoting knowledge of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust scheme, empowering organized labor as peer educators for the trust, as well as demystifying some of the issues surrounding benefit computation and partnering the trust in compliance enforcement. The ongoing regional meetings are held in compliance with the directive by the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA, to the trust to intensify its public education activities and to ensure that members of the scheme understand how their benefits are calculated. Chief Executive Officer of the NPRA, Hayford Atakrufi, stated that despite the country's working population of 11 million, only 1.5 million are under the SNIT, which he sees as woefully inadequate.
Right now, as a country, our total pension asset for both Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 rose from a meager 5.1 billion in 2012 to in excess of 21 billion in 2018. So not only your kitty in pensions is growing so that we can have a sizable pension to take home, but in putting your monies into investment, it is also enhancing national development.
He expressed worry about the reluctance of most public sector workers to join the Tier 3 pension scheme.
Whilst adequacy of pensions is a concern across the country, we are also imploring you as public sector workers to ensure that Tier 1 and Tier 2, which are mandatory, is also complemented with a Tier 3. Tier 3 is voluntary. It can be in the form of a group personal pension scheme or a personal pension scheme. Many people in the public sector are not topping up because it is voluntary, because it is not deducted straight from your salary as a matter of compulsion. And because of that, there is a whopping 16.5% of our salary which could have gone into pension tax-free, which we are not utilizing.
The Deputy Director General of Senate in charge of Finance and Administration, Michael Ado, warned employers of breaking the laws by not registering their employees and also under-declaring their employees' salaries.
Are you declaring the right salaries of your employees? And are you paying the correct amount and at the right time? Because the law says you must pay by the 14th. So you better be check on that. Why is this important? Because sometimes some employers under-declare. You would think you are earning a salary of 1,000 Ghana cedis. Your employer is supposed to take 30% of that and give it to SNP. Employer will declare, oh, it's spending 500. And then you pay 30%. You will not find out this hurt. Your money has been taken away. You don't know. So when you're 60, when you are retiring, that's when you find out. So we have to check these things.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now,
And back here in Accra, the increasing awareness to stay healthy through regular scheduled exercises is gaining popularity across the country. Apart from aerobics and other healthy lifestyle practices, swimming has become one of the trending exercises being adopted by both the youth and the aged in recent times. It is not only useful for exercise purposes, but also creating several job opportunities. Ahead of the Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show, Charles Aite has been exploring the impact of swimming is making in the country.
Over the past few years, the culture of staying healthy has caught up with many people across the country, especially in urban areas. Initially, the craze was with gym centers, but now it's changing to swimming pools.
The art of swimming is catching up faster with the younger generation here in Ghana. But the business of it is what matters most to several people out there who say that swimming in itself has its own health benefits as well as its business angle.
Earlier, I embarked on an online search for a swim instructor who would guide me through all I need to know about the swimming industry in Ghana. I chanced upon Swim Easy, a swim school which is equipping many people with swimming skills. Kenneth Quanti Papafio is a university graduate. He came up with his own swim agency, Swim Easy. Busy with a swim class session, I asked him how lucrative the job of a swim instructor is.
Give and take, you can earn a good living like a graduate that is working in a bank or anything. Yeah.
So like how much? Help us know the estimate. So on a good day, how much do you make?
On a good day in a month, I can make up to 3,000, 4,000.
It was quite refreshing partaking of his swim class. But what are the health benefits of swimming?
You know, swimming, though it's a leisure activity, but after swimming, there's some kind of relaxation. Okay, it helps your mind, it helps you to relax, and you can rethink. Okay, so it's the best form of exercise and the best form of distressing.
Swimming is an exercise for people of all ages. It can be easy and inexpensive, and a person can go at their own pace. It helps you to stay in shape, but the benefits go beyond just physical upkeep, but also enhancing your mental alertness.
I find that it's really relaxing.
Precious Okine-Sosu is an auditor by profession who swims for health. He spends between 500 to 1,000 cedis a month on this routine exercise. For him, this has been an investment he never regrets making.
I could say between 500 and 700, yeah. Is it a month or what? Yes, an estimate, yeah. I think it's very, very useful. I'm a business person, so I would say it's a very profitable investment.
Swimming engages almost every major muscle group, requiring the person to use their arms, their legs, their torso, and their stomach. For Memunat Shaibu, swimming has helped her manage arthritis. She finds no fault in investing heavily on this activity.
So why the choice to swim?
Because it boosts my immune system and it's about the health benefit. I love to swim.
The business of swimming is picking up fast in the urban centers of Ghana. To enjoy a 4-hour swim at any swimming pool, you must be looking at spending between 200 and 500 cedis, depending on the location of the exercise.
It is quite clear that the culture of swimming has both sides to the angle, the business angle as well as the health benefits, not just to yourself, but to those around you. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
Interesting there. Now let's get a health tip for today.
today's Joy Business Health and Wellness tip. Migraine is our topic for today. Migraine is a severe painful headache that occurs due to certain physiologic changes that takes place in the brain. It usually occurs in one side of the brain and can be experienced as pounding in the brain, but many people experience pains on both sides. The Joy Business Health and Wellness tip is brought to you by New Crystal Health Services Limited, growing together in good health.
So make sure you are there on the 30th of May and follow the discussions on leading the charge for healthcare revolution, research, technology and innovation for sustainable growth. The time is 11 a.m. at the National Theatre here in Accra. And some of the speakers to grace this year's event are Dr. Uforia Mankwa, Director of Medical Services, Focus Hospital, Professor Abraham Kwabna Annan, Director, Noguchi Medical Research Institute, Eugene Buedu, Head Corporate Affairs and Pedigree. Guest speaker is Mrs. Delise Mimi Daku, CEO, Food and Drugs Authority, and the guest of honor will be the Minister for Health, Kweku Ajimamenu. The Joy Business and Health Wellness Trade Show is supported by Crystal Health Services Limited, growing together in good health, Health Link, Healthy Man and Woman from Pharma Trust Limited, East Cantonment Pharmacy Limited, quality service simply delivered, and is endorsed by the Ministry of Health. Joining me in the studio right now is one of the coordinators of the Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show, Nick Opoku is here. Nick, welcome to the marketplace.
Thanks for having me.
So what should we look out for at this year's event?
Well, just a brief background to this event. We know that there are a number of things that are happening in the health sector. People are leveraging technology to provide solutions to some of the challenges in the health sector. These days, when you buy a medication from the pharmacy, you can check whether a drug is fake or not, through the availability of mobile applications. People who are sick can also engage medical professionals without even stepping into consulting rooms through mobile applications. We feel that it's an opportunity for us to bring together all these innovators and health experts for us to have very interesting discussions on topical issues in the health sector, and also give an opportunity for innovators to exhibit their products.
So what exactly should participants and exhibitors be looking out for or be expecting at this?
Well, for participants, you should come and look forward to very interesting conversations and also an opportunity to see a number of the innovations that are happening in the health sector. For exhibitors, an opportunity for them to collaborate with other businesses and do businesses.
Any special takeaways on this?
Well, we are entreating everybody to come by. Apart from the health discussions that are going to happen, there are a number of entertainment programs. So on Friday, for example, we have a comedy show, and then on Saturday in the morning there's an aerobic session and then a power breakfast, and later in the evening we have some very good entertainment from the Lipstick Band, which is an all-female band which will play some very interesting tunes and do some very unique choreography. So apart from all the health discussions that will be happening, you can also expect some very good entertainment as well.
I can't wait to be there. Thank you very much, Nick, for your time. And that was Nick Opoku. He is one of the coordinators of the Joy Business Health and Wellness Trade Show, coming up on the 30th of May, ending on the 1st of June. Away from that, one of Ghana's leading producers of nutritional dairy products, Promasidor Ghana Limited, says it will consistently deliver quality products in order to deal with the influx of cheaper ones imported into the country. The company says this is part of measures to safeguard its hard-earned image as a quality consumer goods supplier. Managing Director of Promasidor Ghana Limited, the parent company of Cowbell brand, Festus Tete, said this at a media launch of the 20th anniversary of Cowbell, which was on the theme 20 Years of Nourishing Bodies, Minds and Dreams.
Over the past 2 decades, Cowbell, the flagship brand of Promasidor Ghana Limited, has provided a wide range of dairy products to meet the nutritional needs of Ghanaians. The emergence of the brand on the market sought to provide dairy products at affordable pricing in convenient packaging. But like any other consumables, the entry of other cheaper alternatives onto the Ghanaian market has had a toll on the operations of the company. At the launch of Cowbell's 20th anniversary celebration, Managing Director of Promasidor, Festus Tete, explains what's being done to manage the situation.
I believe that is a threat to not only us but many other brands on the market, where you have influx of copies from Asia, especially China. But the key is delivering consistent quality and ensuring that you have a strong distribution network and endearing yourself to your community or your consumers out there. doing that builds bonds that cannot be broken by all the cheap imports. And so we've had or stayed have our head above water, even though we've faced this menace. But we have been pretty strong, and we've been able to weather the storm.
Head of commercials at Promasidor, Samir Sadawi, highlights the strides the company has made in the country since its establishment.
A major contributing factor to this social health problem was the inability of a good number of people in society to afford basic nutrition meals for their children. In 1999, and through its vision and mission, Promasidor launched the Cowbell brand milk.
Cowbell has been a socially responsible communal brand and has over 2 decades of existence, invested in varying community support initiatives.
Now, U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. is not ready to make a deal with China on trade. He has also repeated threats to further increase tariffs on Chinese imports. During a recent visit to Tokyo, Japan, President Trump's utterances suggested Washington is in no hurry to resolve the dispute despite the economic toll it's taking on global economies. How could Ghana and other African economies feel the impact of the escalating U.S.-China trade war? Joining me for a discussion is chartered global investment analyst and also a Sino-Africa trade expert, Paul from Paul. Welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How did we get here in the first place, the war between U.S. and China?
Yeah, that's the fundamental question that you've asked, because up until today, we've seen more like a global peace in terms of how countries are committed to globalization. And then all of a sudden, we've seen one super economy waging war against the other. Now, this comes at the background of fundamental misrepresentation or misreading of the West led by US on China. So the first misrepresentation is about the economy. Never did they ever think that China, as we see today, will come to this economic pinnacle. So all of a sudden, we've been the super economy in the world, and most of the things that we've seen US do, whether it's military intervention or political intervention in multiple countries, is because of their economic prowess. Now, all of a sudden, we've seen a new power emerging economically. And what China has been able to do in the last 40 years, where they've lifted over 400 million people out of poverty, has never been done economically in the history of the world. So all of a sudden, you never gave a chance to this Chinese economy, and all of a sudden, it's rivaling you to be the leading economy. And by 2030, by projection by Goldman Sachs and other leading firms, is that by 2030, China will be the largest economy by GDP.
Now, it's not worrying that the U.S. is adopting a harsh stance on this particular situation, because the recent utterances indicate that it is not ready to budge.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, that's why I started by saying that all of a sudden we've seen one super economy waging war against the other. Now, in the world that we've lived in for so many centuries now, it's been about one modernity, which is the modernity of the West, which is what about universal suffrage, multi-party system. But all of a sudden, we've seen a new economy, which is not doing what everybody else have been doing over the period, right? So China is uniquely from all the other economy that the world has seen. So eventually, what you assume the US to think is that eventually China will be like us. Unfortunately, China isn't, and China will never be like the West. So now that they've seen what China can do, obviously, you've seen China now actually engaging other multinational institutions like the WTO. All of a sudden, they want to be part, they want to be heard, because we have the economic prowess as well.
All right, we don't have much time, but what could countries like us, I mean Ghana, be having? What will be the impact on us, especially when we are having some good time or good relations with China?
Obviously, I mean, whatever happens between the world's two most important economies have implication on every other economy. So there's no trade relationship, especially where now China is the leading trading partner to Africa. US is number 5 now. China is the leading trading partner. So whatever happens to China in terms of trade with the US, and nothing that China does that's not connected to the US economy. So if there's going to be a negative impact on what US is doing on China, then definitely African too is going to be challenged. Now, this is what we need to do. Obviously, we had a very strategic relationship with China over the period. Okay. Now, I term it three groups. We have the Africa-China 1.0, which is where China started by building some defense ministry, building high ministries and what have you. Right. Now we move to China 2.0, which is where we saw China building infrastructure. We go to East Africa, it's clear, China infrastructure development. Now where we are now is what we call Africa-China 3.0. And this we need to use technology to transform ourselves.
Very, very interesting. We shall continue this particular conversation again on the same platform. Thank you very much for coming. Paul Frimpong is an expert Sino-African trade deals. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. This is the end of the marketplace. Have a good afternoon.